covering the whole night in the NBA, including Steph Curry, still awesome, and real or fake. Giannis might leave Milwaukee because they won a championship. It's all right now on the Locked On NBA podcast.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Wednesday night in the association and here on the Locked On NBA podcast. Thank you for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. It's free, available everywhere podcasts exist, and on YouTube. On Wednesdays, I am John Karalis, host of the Locked On Celtics podcast. You can find me on Twitter at RedsArmy_John.
And I'm Jake Madison, host of the Locked On Pelicans podcast. You can find me on Twitter at NolaJake.
3 games in the NBA tonight. I feel bad because I think tomorrow Jackson and Matt have to cover. I think there are somehow 30 games on the schedule tomorrow, but we are catching the break. 3 games, and frankly, Jake, not great ones here. A couple of blowouts, one that teetered on the edge of a blowout. So let's just start with the early TNT game. Golden State and Brooklyn. First of all, today's show is brought to you by Calm. Calm is, for a limited time, offering listeners 40% off a premium subscription. Join LeBron James in using Calm. Go to calm.com/LockedOnNBA. All right, Golden State Warriors just dismantled, destroyed the Brooklyn Nets almost entirely in the second half of this game. They had a small lead at the half, and then they went 35-18 in the third quarter. Another third quarter. The stat is in their last 7 games, they're plus 89 in third quarters, and Steph Curry just went absolutely berserk. The Warriors look just amazing, and I think you could call this, Jake, as we like to say, a statement game, perhaps.
Yeah, I think so. This is something that kind of sends notice to the rest of the association. If you already weren't thinking it, right, and you should have been, this Warriors team is really good. And to come out and to just completely smoke the Nets like this really does say something. And they don't even have Klay Thompson back yet, but they're getting just contributions all over. Like Andrew Wiggins was exceptional in this game. He's been really good for them recently on both sides of the ball. That switchability on defense, being able to attack the basket while also shoot the three for him. He finished with 19 points on the night. You give Steph Curry 37. Jordan Poole's been great. Like they're just like a really solid team right now.
I think, well, obviously you got Steph, who, I mean, it was kind of, I'm sure there are plenty of Warriors fans just traveling in the war. There's always a Steph Curry fan everywhere. The Barclays Center was very vocal for Steph. I mean, they were chanting MVP. They were cheering for him in the third quarter when he had the ball and they called a timeout and they wanted him to pull from the logo, and he just fired one up anyway, and it went in and the whole crowd goes nuts. It was very much a pro Curry crowd in the Barclays Center. But honestly, Jake, Draymond Green was in the middle of so many good things, as he always is. There was a point there where the Warriors were just running up and down. The pace was so fast, and Draymond was in the middle of everything, grabbing a rebound, pushing, setting guys up, coming back. He even got mad. I think it might have been mad at Jordan Poole, where Jordan comes back. He got mad at Poole for helping on defense. Poole comes over to help and commits a foul, and Draymond's like slapping his chest, like, "I'm here, I got this." Like, whoa, Draymond. Whoa. But it's pure Draymond Green. I feel like Draymond's like a little more energized this year, maybe because they didn't start with the Wiseman experiment and they didn't play a style that was kind of out of their normal style, and he wasn't trying to teach this young kid. They'll figure out, I think, the Wiseman stuff, but the just getting in there and playing his regular game, that fast-paced, up and down, lots of ball movement. Now, look, man, I watch the Celtics. They don't move the ball at all. I watch the Golden State Warriors. I'm like, oh, I want to go to there. They just move the ball so well, man. I'm sure you can sympathize.
Yeah, no, look, a bunch of them have played together for a number of years. They've got the same coach. Like there should be some level of consistency with them there. And they're just kind of doing what we expect. And Steph Curry seems like he's on a mission to prove just how good he is for people who have maybe forgotten, and you're going to look foolish if that's the case. What about the Nets, though? Are you in any way worried about them? I think you and I both thought they would be coming out of the East even without Kyrie Irving, but you have a rough shooting game from Kevin Durant in this one. He was 6 of 19 from the field. 19 points on 19 shot attempts is real rough for him. James Harden's starting to realize how to play basketball in 2021, but still 5 turnovers for him. But he finally starting to get to the line a whole lot more, getting 11 times. You overall worried, or is this just, as you said, a statement game from the Warriors?
I think the Warriors went out and are still somewhat in prove it mode, and I think the Nets without Kyrie are trying to, like, I think you come into the season thinking, okay, we have Kyrie. You built a team built around that, right? And not to give them an excuse of like, oh, Kyrie's not here, he's not giving us points or whatever. But it's not just. I mean,
it's somewhat of an excuse. Like,
sure.
Keep player out.
Of course, but like it's more than just he's out. It's that they built a team centered around these 3 guys. And it's not just that he's out, it's that they don't have the team to kind of step up for him. And also, they were missing what's his name? God, I just drew a blank on the shooter.
Oh, they don't have Joe Harris right now.
Joe Harris. I was going to say Joe Ingles. I'm like, no, that's the wrong Joe. The brain is not working. Brain is not working at 1 a.m. right now. But yeah, so Harris was out. So that's another guy that can take some of the, space the floor a little bit. Where Brooklyn really struggled in this is the bigs were switching. They were switching on to Steph Curry. Poor Blake Griffin was just getting roasted by Steph Curry. Part of the reason why he got that big game was because Blake was switching on to him so much. And that just goes to show that on top of they don't have Kyrie, they don't also have the right matchups in certain cases. So I think the defense that has always been a concern for Brooklyn is still going to be a concern for Brooklyn. And until they kind of get used to that and figure that out, then there's some cause for concern. I will just add this as I wrap it up. They figured it out last year, but they had Ime Udoka coaching their defense last year, and he's now the Celtics head coach. And I wonder just how much that is going to be the case. So just quickly, what's your level of concern? Like 1 to
10?
Mild, right? Yeah.
Yeah, sense. like 3 or 4. Like, I'm not above 50% just yet. The defense worries me a little bit. James Harden starting to round into form. If he gets back to kind of being 80%, 90% of like what he's been, like, they're fine. Kevin Durant had a rough game. It's also the Warriors who make everyone kind of look bad right now for the most part. I'm not there yet, but I do wonder, without Kyrie Irving for the season, are they going to come out of the East? I think they're still the favorites, but I'm not like solidly set on that like I once was.
All right, we're going to get into the Philadelphia 76ers. Sorry, Sixers fans. We're going to have to talk about that a little bit. And the Spurs holding their own for a while there against the Clippers. In the next segment, we're going to save the Giannis stuff for the third segment. First, I want to tell you about Calm. When it comes to athletes, we tend to focus on physical fitness. There's another side to the game that's just as important. It's called mental fitness. Calm is the #1 app for sleep and meditation. It has teamed up with LeBron James to help you train your mind and become the champion version of yourself. LeBron and Calm know that your mind is like any other muscle in your body. You don't have to be a world champion to learn how to train it. Calm can help you train your brain so you sleep better, reduce your stress. Sleep is a critical part of any fitness routine, mental or physical. You need to sleep to recover mentally and physically. LeBron says, getting good sleep and finding time to rest is one of the most valuable things I can do for my body and mind. From the sound of rain falling on leaves to bedtime sleep stories, Calm puts me to sleep within minutes, which means I wake up ready for any challenge. So head to calm.com/LockedOnNBA For a limited time, you'll get 40% off a Calm Premium subscription. So you have access to the nature scenes that LeBron loves and so much more, like sleep stories and meditation, so you can be ready for any challenge that life throws your way. Again, for a limited time, our listeners can join LeBron in using Calm, get a 40% discount on a Calm Premium subscription at calm.com/LockedOnNBA. Unlock content that helps you focus, ease stress, and sleep better. Get started at calm.com/LockedOnNBA. That's calm.com/LockedOnNBA. Today's show is also brought to you by Built Bar, which is the best tasting protein bar on the market, bar none. And hey, Thanksgiving is right around the corner. Grab a box of Built Bars, bring them over to Thanksgiving dinner, spread the word. Maybe you can have them as dessert. Skip the 300 calorie or more piece of pie. Have a Built Bar instead, because there are a ton of different flavors. They're all delicious, but still with only 4 grams of sugar and plenty of protein. That's basically where you're going to get in a lot of these 130 to 170 calories. It's a great way to ease out the calories, get something sweet, but still have low calorie, low carb, low fat, high protein, and it's covered in 100% chocolate. So go to built.com. You'll find new surprises all month long, limited flavors arriving at built.com regularly, plus the Built Bar Black Friday deals. Mark your calendar. It's going to be a huge event with lots of surprises. Go to built.com, use the promo code LOCKED15. You can use it every single time. You'll get 15% off your order when you use LOCKED15 every time at built.com. Bring Jake back in. First of all, thank you for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. You can make your favorite team, they have a Locked On podcast. You can make that your second listen every day if you so choose. They're all available everywhere podcasts exist. Most of them now are going to YouTube, so check it out there. Jake, let's not spend a lot of time on Utah and Philly. Basically, Philly shorthanded, still, no Joel Embiid, just shorthanded, no Danny Green in this. Utah had everybody, and it showed. They went out and smacked Philly, 120 to 85. It was a 30-point game early. 20 points off the bench for Jordan Clarkson, 27 for Bojan Bogdanovic. Just spread the wealth. 15 points, 17 rebounds, 4 block shots for Rudy, who just turned Andre Drummond into jelly. And what more can you say? The Andre Drummond, I'm just kind of anti-Andre Drummond in just the general sense. I think he's basically the Russell Westbrook of centers, and he just had nothing. They had nothing. So you can't score on Rudy Gobert. You can't stop. You couldn't even stop Rudy Gobert offensively. They just fell apart early and never got it back.
No, look, there's not much to say about this one, right? Like, when you look at a game like this, the Philadelphia 76ers, and we don't need to spend much time on this, right, need to trade Ben Simmons just immediately. You're not going to get fair value for him. You're not going to maybe even get a good return, but it shows that this team needs like 2 other just useful players, 3 other useful players that you would get. Can you get Buddy Hield and another guard or someone else from the Sacramento Kings? You should probably pull the trigger on that right now, because this team really needs some help. You need a little bit more 3-point shooting. They made just 6 threes in this one, right? Steph Curry had a horrible game shooting, but you have nice pieces. Like Tyrese Maxey has been really, really good. He scored 16 points in this one. We know Tobias Harris can be solid. We know Shake Milton could be good off the bench. Get some pieces back from him and at least put a more competitive team out there on the court.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the standings right now, and again, obviously, I cover the Celtics, and everybody knows how disappointing the Celtics have been to start the season, and they are 7-7. Philly was kind of rolling along while Joel Embiid was there and healthy, and they thought, hey, look, we don't need Ben Simmons. This is fine. But where you really do need him is when Joel was out, and you can run now we're doing Ben as the centerpiece, and they don't have that, and so they basically got nothing. Now Philly is 8-7, a half game ahead of the struggling Celtics and 1 game ahead of the Toronto Raptors. They are starting to fade fast. I don't think they're going to do anything. Everybody seems to agree on the outside that they should, but I don't think that they will. And so until Daryl Morey says, all right, I've had enough of this, then that's it. I just don't see, and he's running out of options too. I think he's just running out of
He
options.
is, right? Like this is a 5-game losing streak for him. If that's not sounding alarm bells in there without Joel Embiid, I don't know what is, but he's also like he seems very stubborn and a man of principle that's not going to lose a trade, right? Even when losing that trade gets you useful players back.
Yep. I mean, I don't know what else to say. We're belaboring points at this point, but the last thing to say is I don't know when Joel Embiid is coming back. And so you really run the risk of losing another year of Joel Embiid's kind of prime. So who knows what's going to happen with that. Okay, let's get to the other game, the final game on the schedule. Clippers 106-92 winners over the San Antonio Spurs. The pesky Spurs, if you will. Another great game from Paul George, your MVP candidate. 34 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists. And the Spurs took advantage of a very sloppy Clippers team. 21 turnovers for the Clippers. They had 24 points off of those turnovers for the Spurs. And that's basically why the Spurs were able to stay close in the second quarter, especially. They just ran off a flurry. To me, this felt like the Clippers saying, we're better than the Spurs, going to relax. They got a little sloppy. Third quarter, they said, oh, wait, no, we're gonna try again. Then they got sloppy again. Like they just kind of rode just enough to get past the Spurs. Like, oh, they're getting too close. Okay, we're going to assert ourselves. Then we're going to let go, and they're going to just kind of float along.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, right? Like the Spurs hung around in this one off of those turnovers, like you said. It's the fast break points, the points off turnovers, and you saw the Clippers just not move the ball at all. They only had 16 assists in this one, a lot of iso ball, leading to live ball turnovers, leading to fast break points, and that's why you get a game where DeJounte Murray scores 26, 12, and 9 assists in this one. Derek White, 19 points, and then Paul George, the MVP candidate, decides, no, just we don't need to deal with this anymore, and they close the game.
Yeah, no, we're good. We're good. Nice contribution from Reggie Jackson as well. 21 points, 5 of 17 from 3. I know this is how the NBA is, man, but these 17 3-pointers just jumps out of the box score at me. I can't help it. Look, I got to give credit to the Spurs, man. You got to give credit to these guys. They are not winning a ton of games. They are currently 4-10, but their point differential is only 0.9. For a 4-10 team, they're basically only losing these games by a point overall. They are a team that you're going to have to beat. Now, a lot of teams are beating them, but which is a backhanded compliment for the Spurs.
Yeah, that was really great. Here's a team that's not winning games, but you'll have to beat them.
You have to go out there and try, because if you don't try, they will make your life hell. However, if you do try, you'll beat them.
Yeah, you'll get them.
Yeah, but don't sleep on them. Don't sleep on them, because they give up a ton of points, but they score a ton. They're scoring 108 points per game. Their defense right now is just terrible. And so you can score on the Spurs. All right, that's going to be the night in the association. Up next, Giannis Antetokounmpo gives an interview to GQ, and all of a sudden the Giannis leaving Milwaukee buzz starts right back up again. Going to talk about that after we talk about Bet Online, which is back and better than ever with a new web interface for the start of basketball season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. It remains your number one spot for basketball and football and all your other sports, NHL, boxing, UFC, even your favorite Vegas casino games. Head on over to the new updated desktop or mobile site to sign up today. Use the promo code Locked On. You're going to get a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Whatever you deposit, 50% of that added as a welcome bonus. So head on over to Bet Online. It is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. Bet Online, where the game starts. Please gamble responsibly. So Giannis Antetokounmpo had an interview with GQ magazine, which came out, and a lot of fun stuff comes out of that. You see how he's cheap and how he's hoarding sneakers so he can sell them later. Like Giannis isn't getting paid like $500 million. He wants to sell his sneakers from Nike. But the thing that stood out and the thing that I saw pop up, around the internet, and I don't want to go too crazy with the quote, but he talks about the championship and how he wanted to stay in Milwaukee and do something that was difficult. So then he says, I love challenges. What's the next challenge? The next challenge might not be here. He says, me and my family chose to stay in the city that we all love and has taken care of us for now. In 2 years, that might change. I'm being totally honest with you. I'm always honest. I love the city. I love this community. I want to help as much as possible. Now, the agent was like, I don't know if he's talking about leaving the Bucks. He just wants to manufacture stuff. So this is our segment where we go real or fake. We look at the past, what's gone on in the past week in the NBA. We pick something. We say, is this real or is this fake? So, Jake, is it real or fake that the Milwaukee Bucks championship might actually be what starts Giannis looking elsewhere?
So this one's kind of hard, right? Like, I get where he's coming from to an extent. I go back to, for any soccer fans out there, when Zidane was the head coach of Real Madrid and they won 2 or 3 straight Champions Leagues and a bunch overall. And he basically just quit, being like, what more am I supposed to do? Like, I've summited Everest here. I've won everything I'm supposed to win as a coach. Like, how am I supposed to be a coach anymore and motivate my guys when we've literally accomplished it all? And so he walked away, and you're like, what the hell is this crazy dude doing? But like, these guys are just wired differently, right? Like, they don't think like we do. He did what's seemingly impossible, winning a championship in a small market. So I did that. What's my next challenge? Instead of just kind of being content and being happy and, maybe winning another one. But I get it, right? But I still think this is fake. What's harder than winning 1 championship in Milwaukee? Winning 2 or 3. Or if we could go the Heat numbers with everything, right? And just kind of count them off here. Not 6, whatever it was. Like, that's the harder thing to do. And that leaves a greater legacy. If I were a Lakers fan, I'd hate to hear this. If I were a Miami Heat fan, I'd hate to hear this, right? If I were a Knicks fan, I might be like, oh, hell yes, we're going to get Giannis. But this is fake. Like, he loves it there. They love him. It's always going to be a challenge to win in that market, I think, with the limitations. And look, we didn't even mention the crypto thing when it came to the Los Angeles Clippers and the $700 million going to the LA teams in some capacity over this. You're at a disadvantage there. That's like trying to win a championship with not one arm tied behind your back, but like not the full use of the arm, let's say. And so keep making that your challenge. You don't need to go have another one. You can just be like content with that to an extent. So this is fake.
Yeah, I'm leaning that way too. I mean, if you really want to challenge and you want to push yourself, you can always sign with the Sacramento Kings. I mean, if I
was gonna say, what would be the toughest team to try and win a title with? Would it be the Kings?
I mean, okay.
Yeah.
You think it would have to be the Kings. They got like the worst ownership. They've got the worst coach right now. I mean, he would make them obviously very much better. They've got good talent, but of all the franchises overall, I think that just obviously pops to the forefront, right? Like, I think. Okay,
yeah, no, you're right. I think you're right.
But like I think they still have competent people. They just have, they're broke. So yeah. So I don't. Is he going to Sacramento? I don't think so. Although, hey, look, he likes Milwaukee. Sacramento's not bad. I've been to Sacramento. It's nice, but it's just not LA. So.
But he's not going to leave the Bucks to go do, again, if you're going to take him at his word on this, right? It's like, let's go to the toughest team to win a title with. And it's like, he's not going to be like, let me force my way to Sacramento so I can try and do something stupidly hard there.
So I think what he's doing here, and the reason why I'm going to say this is fake, is what actually the line where he says, I'm being totally honest with you, in 2 years that might change. That's like the equivalent of saying, I might just go walk across the street and get hit by a bus. Like, that's the same kind of thing that he's saying. Like, the thing that from a Milwaukee perspective, that you might say like, oh, geez, it's that he is open to that possibility. And he understands that that possibility is there. And while that possibility is there for literally every player in the league, you don't want an MVP candidate, your finals MVP, your former two-time MVP, the entire reason your franchise is what it is. You don't want him verbalizing it. And so
I agree with that.
You know, that's where, and this is that whole thing where we want our athletes to be honest, but whoa, not that honest, because now I'm scared.
Could they make it harder on him? Like trade away Middleton or Drew Holiday and be like, okay, Giannis, you asked for this. It's like more of a challenge now.
If I'm the Bucks, I'm like, how hard do you want us to make this for you? We'll trade.
Like we can do this, man.
You know, we'll sign 10 rookie minimum guys. Is that a challenge? Stick around.
You bring Eric Bledsoe back. He's terrible and make your life harder.
Not that. Let's not go crazy here, Jake. But look, if I'm one of the other GMs in the league, I sit there and I say, okay, I have a pitch. Now I have a pitch. And they were always going to have a pitch ready. But now you sit there and you believe, like, let's put ourselves in a position to have max contract space so the Knicks can go over there and say, like, look, man, it's great that you won in Milwaukee, but winning in New York, my God. The Celtics come along and say, look at these banners. The Lakers coming along and say, look at these banners. You get to be part of this storied franchise. You know, Miami gets this, you know, every major team that has a pitch or something to sell. And you have to, now you say, well, look, he's receptive. You got to think at least that he's receptive. I don't think he's leaving, because I think you're absolutely on point that when it comes down to it, winning a second title, like a lot of guys have a ring, you know, like you go off and you're like, hey, wow, we won this. All right, great. You know, like Toronto, that's a great example because, you know, you get Kawhi on a weird 1 year thing, couple things break your way, couple of injuries happen in the finals, boom, you've got your ring. Now do it again. And that's really, really tough. So that challenge for Milwaukee is certainly there. I guess the final question here is, what if they do win again and he wins 2 and you get that phenomenon that you described at the top? Like, do you get the, okay, I've won 2. Now I've won 2. All right. Thanks.
Plenty of people won 2. Plenty of people won 2 in a row. Plenty of people have won 3 in a row. We've seen this recently.
I mean, at that point,
that's what I'd keep saying if I worked in the Bucks front office.
Look, if Giannis gets you 2 or 3 championships and leaves, then you just bask in the glow of 2 or 3 championships and be like, all right, hey, all right, thank you.
You're still building a statue of him at that point, right? Like, even if he wins 2, he probably gets a statue there.
Who's that?
If he gets 2 titles there, they probably build a statue of him, and you would be like, thank you for your service, Giannis. Goodbye. And we hope the best for you.
But ultimately, I do think that this is fake. I think he's staying. I don't think he's going anywhere. I think Giannis is the right guy in the right situation, and the whole size of the city and all that stuff doesn't matter to him. That's why he signed there and re-signed. So we declare it fake. Congratulations, Bucks fans. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of Locked On NBA. Thank you very much for tuning in every Wednesday. I am John Karalis, host of the Locked On Celtics podcast, and find me on Twitter at RedsArmy_John.
And I'm Jake Madison, host of the Locked On Pelicans podcast. You can find me on Twitter at NolaJake.
Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Make Locked On Fantasy Basketball your second listen, or how about Locked On Bets? If you're going to lay some money down, they are on a heater. So check out Locked On Bets every day. These shows are on YouTube. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Share the podcast. Tell all your friends they should be listening to and watching the Locked On NBA podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network.